I'd like to call the meeting to order and have pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Okay, attendance, everyone's here but Robert.
Was he showing anything here?
Well,
I talked to him earlier today, he said he'd be here.
yeah, this morning, because I even asked him, meetings at 5 or 5:30. No, 5. I said, okay, do that, but I want to make sure. So let's just continue till he comes. Maybe he'll show up. Public comment. I guess we'll have that. Is anybody online, Ed?
We have one person.
If you're online, you want to unmute yourself. You have public comment, go ahead.
Good evening. As regular as sunset, you can depend on me on having public comments. Tonight is no exception. I'm here to acknowledge and correct an inaccuracy in Libby's Lines February issue. I stated that neither the final trail feasibility study from Gordy Fraser and Associates, nor the documents for the newly created Michigan Health Endowment Fund Trail Team were yet available on the Parks and Recreation homepage. One of my Libby Lines readers called to tell me that the documents were available by clicking on the Trails Team blue button on the left side of the homepage and scrolling 4 pages down. Thank you, Bick, for moving the final report to its own blue button on the left side of the homepage. Much more user-friendly. I will be attending the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting on Friday to offer my apologies for my mistake, and I will print a correction in the March issue of Libby's Lines. You all should have received a copy of my letter regarding my recommendations for inclusion in the fiscal year 26 budget for $2,300 to pay members of the Harbor Commission, Parks and Recreation Committee, and the Invasive Species Committee, a yearly stipends of $100, and hiring a part-time web administrator. I look forward to listening to your discussion. Thank you, Ed, for posting the draft budget on the website. It was very helpful, as was your memo. I was hoping to find more detail about the specific capital expenditures for the various departments and funds in the packet for tonight's hearing and work session. I was unable to locate an agenda or a packet on the website. How may I obtain written details of the potential capital expenses?
Okay, thank you.
Do I get an answer? How do I obtain more detail?
We'll probably be discussing it tonight, Libby. That's the purpose of this work session.
I
As a budget public hearing, and then when we're through that, if there's changes, we can get you details.
Well, could I have the changes even if you couldn't? When could I get what you are looking at?
Well, we're not looking at anything right now. We're just having a general discussion, but if one of the board members brings up capital outlays, then we'll talk about it, but I can get them to you sometime after the meeting, maybe towards the end of the week or possibly early next week.
I would very much appreciate that, a detailed of what you're discussing. Thank you, Ed. Thank you for the answer too.
Thanks. Ed, is there anybody else online?
No, but you need to see if anybody else here wants to make public comments at the public hearing.
And I know, does anybody here want to make a public comment? Okay,
Close it.
we'll close public comment.
Public hearing.
I'm sorry, close public hearing.
Okay, so really the public comment is the public hearing. Okay, sorry. Just for,
Oh, I thought what this whole thing was, okay.
No, you have to do,
no, I understand. I just,
Gotcha.
And just for everybody's benefit, we have to publish a notice in the paper and we didn't get it in time, so we'll have to schedule another public hearing at our regular meeting in March just to make the schedule requirements.
Oh, because you have to have so many days notice or something.
adjourn the public hearing. Can I adjourn the public hearing at 5:06 p.m.? Let's reconvene immediately. We'll call this budget workshop, work session, correct, Ed?
Yep.
I'd like to call to order the budget work session. And now we'll have attendance, and Mr. Blackmore has joined us, so they're all 5 board members are here. Okay,
Most important guy in there.
that is true. So, I didn't do an agenda either, but we can go right down. If you want to start, Rob, you want to let Rob go first?
Sure.
Might as well, Rob, you're here. Go ahead. You and Vic are both here. Let's start with you.
Anything you wanna tell us?
Capital expenditures, like Libby's talking about, we have the truck. I want to go over some of that stuff, so we know what to expect.
Yeah, so the truck, I don't know as if you're going to I haven't got a straight answer on the next invoice. On the truck, when it's gonna be due, we're gonna just say that we're gonna move that
Into 25,
into, yes.
because it's never gonna be here. You know,
No, and they're not, even if they start work on it now, they're gonna build some of it before they send that invoice. And then we would have 10 days or whatever their terms are to pay on that.
okay,
So I don't think we need to worry about that. They're running a little bit behind down at Alexis. They just took the next fire truck into the bay to be built. We're next in line, so
oh, it'll be a while.
it'll be a couple, 2-3 weeks before they move ours inside. I'm guessing, I'm not down there watching the workflow, but,
So you don't think the second installment's gonna be done this fiscal year?
no.
Okay, I'll put it in the budget then for next year, so we don't have to do an amendment.
Right.
And
I
we
did
have the
tell,
third one in already.
I did tell them that if we move that into our next budget, that they're not gonna get the money. If they all of a sudden send us an invoice, so.
Yeah.
They're aware of that.
Okay,
We can leave it in this budget.
you can leave it in there for another
I
month.
mean, it's in
and
this
just-
budget already. If they send it in, we pay it. If not, at least we have it in the next budget and,
Okay.
so.
Can one of you walk me through that for a second?
Sure.
So you're saying this, so this 300,000 is what you're calling the second installment?
No, we had a $303,000 down
Down
payment in
payment.
July of 24. We were expecting a second payment in either August or September of 24, which hasn't happened. That was 185,000. And then for this upcoming fiscal year, we're estimating about 243,000. So what I'm suggesting we do is we leave the 185,000 in the current budget in case the invoice comes in, but we also budget that same amount in the upcoming budget. So we have it, so we don't have to do a bunch of
Okay,
that.
so that's not gonna change this
No.
number? It's-
No.
Okay.
We're gonna have to budget some money coming from the township. Cause this thing will be done next fiscal year, you think? Okay,
I don't think so, Dave.
cause we're guessing at the price to sell the other truck, right? Right now, we're.
Yes, if that doesn't come in, then we might have to send some money over from the general fund and,
Make a loan.
or just transfer it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know what I mean.
Do you wanna talk about your 2 other capital items, Rob, the
sorry.
Polaris and the Ice Rescue stuff?
So, the Polaris is, definitely aged out and its time is starting to show some signs of, frame.
Well, we bought that thing used anyways,
That
did we
was
not?
used when we
Yeah.
bought it at 2001 or 2000.
It's pretty old.
Pretty old. And so with that being said, and, the use that we use it for, I wanna do the 4-door cab versus the 2-door, just because of the added strength that body presents for putting the water pump on the back of it for wildlife. If we went with a 2-seater like the one that we got, we'll have the same problem. They're not built for that. So we have to go to that little bit bigger chassis, which is like, I call it 4-door, but they got a quad or whatever it's called, but.
Can you explain that again? What do you use it for with the pump? I did not follow that.
So the brush frame layout, is stronger by design. Because it's a 4-door, if you will, 4-door chassis. And that frame, because it's bigger and stronger, will hold the weight of the fire pump that we have.
I think as part of the question is, what do you use that for?
We have a brush truck, right? So we
Right.
use it in conjunction with that?
We use it in conjunction with that to run down and run the black line of a grass fire that we might not be able to get our brush truck down to. We can run that side by side down, so you're running the burnt and the not burnt and laying a water line down so it doesn't.
So where's the Polaris getting its water from?
It runs back to our tender on the road.
It's got a tank on it.
Okay, so it's carrying water on
80
the
gallons.
Polaris?
Yeah, just 80 gallons.
About an 80-gallon tank on there. And we have a high pressure pump, so it's like a car wash wand. So, it's really effective. It disturbs all the oxygen and it cools because of the high pressure. So that's pretty effective. So we like to stay with that same style of pump, and that pump we can just slide over to it.
Are these things even rated to have 650 plus pounds on the back? of
Oh,
it?
yeah.
The new one, the new style that we quoted, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, Polaris finally came out with something that would handle the weight.
I think it's 1,200 pounds, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken,
I think it's, yeah, 11 something.
Eleven.
It's over there.
something like that.
900 pounds of tray,
Would you put the tracks on it again?
Yeah, we would probably go with the track option, wheel track. I don't know.
Is there anything else, and I don't know, but is there anything else that would do the same thing, similar that's, I have no idea, might be a
So,
little.
you know, historically, we had that 8-wheel thing. There's no real way to carry water with that very well.
The Argo.
Yeah, the Argo, very, jerky operation at best. So if you have a patient in there with some type of spinal injury and you're trying to move that Argo around, it jerks and, you know, it's not.
It's not, it's not.
And to get down to the beach, this thing does pretty good to get
Yeah,
down to
we
the
can get
beach.
down to the beach with this, we can go through snow, we can, you know, we've had it go through a couple, 2-3 foot of snow pretty easily with the tracks on. When we first got it, when we had that snow, but,
How much is that new,
the.
how much?
33,600.
Yeah,
Could you use the tracks from the old one, swap them
No.
out or?
I don't think so, the tracks came with that
Oh,
one originally, so they're 20-some year old.
Yeah,
you don't want to,
yeah,
So-
you gotta get something, man,
Yeah.
more reliable.
any idea what that thing's worth to sell? Someone would buy that, obviously.
Well, somebody would buy that, I don't know off the top of my head, probably $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah,
You know, I don't think a fire department would buy it. I don't think it, you know, we're gonna strip it down. So this would be a side by side when we're done with it. So-
oh, we'll take the stuff off it for the fire, I see what you're saying, they'll save us a little bit of money on the new one, okay.
Maybe,
They might sell for that more than $5 grand with the tracks, believe it or not.
yeah, they'll have tires and tracks.
Okay, well,
So the other, we get. More questions on the side by side?
I guess my own question is, if we didn't have it this year, then what are you gonna do?
We would continue to use the one that we have. And hopefully everything works out on it. It's old, but
It's 25 years old. or
it's
roughly.
25 years old and I, you know, without going too far down the rabbit hole, there's signs on the floorboard that is indicating that it's starting to flex. Mid shift,
It's gonna break.
it's gonna break in half. Is what
Ooh.
it's telling me because of the stress fracture that I see on the floorboard.
that probably wasn't designed to hold 600 gallons or 80 gallons.
No, they actually built, I think we bought that from Kentucky or somewhere, and they built it for moss fires. So they have a swamp that has moss on top and it starts on fire and it spreads through the moss. And before it gets to something of some substantial fire load, they like to get out there and put out, so. That's why it came with the tracks, because the tracks it actually stayed on top of the moss.
Okay, and what else then for a capital?
Ice rescue suits, these will actually be dual purpose. They'll come on 2 layers. So the thermal layer we would use, for ice rescue. And then the other lighter layer, we would use on our boat, or vessel. For, bad weather, rain, whatever. So. You get two things for the price of one on that, kind of, I mean, it's a little pricey, but.
How many suits?
6.
Okay,
Our suits right now are, 8 to 10, 12 years old. The newest one is now starting to leak.
Oh,
So we have a leak around where they attach the boot to the thing. These, the suits that we have, which were popular when we bought them, are very clumsy. You know, you kind of look like a Pillsbury Doughboy in them, you know, you're not real flexible. They did serve their purpose. We obviously rescued several people with them and they worked good, but the new style that's out there now, it's a multiple piece system that you put on. It's like what the city fire has gone to, Coast Guard runs them. Coast Guard does the same thing with, I believe they're, when they're on their boat, they have the lighter shell on in bad weather, and then they have the ice rescue thermal layer on when they're doing ice rescue.
So you just put another layer on over the,
Yeah, it's an inner liner.
oh,
So you put your inner liner on, then you put your other suit on, and,
so it is like it's a dual purpose.
yeah, it serves two purposes.
so you put the other suit over the first suit, then the whole thing's waterproof,
Yeah,
but not waterproof if you just have the inner suit.
it is waterproof.
It is,
It's all waterproof.
okay.
It's just a thermal layer that you.
It's gonna be,
Like a
cold.
long-
You could be cold.
Special long underwear underneath.
Yeah. Depending on what your ice rescue, you put the heavier thermal on.
Sure.
So, but it comes with both liners at that price. So, and you know, there's times where, you know, we've been out in the rain on a boat training, not rescue, but you always have that option or that possibility of running into bad weather. You're not typically gonna have issues when it's nice out, but, so if we're gonna be out for an extended period of time, if we don't have some type of water repellent suit, we'll be soaked, you know, so. That's why we went with that, durable. It comes with all the whistles, the rescue knife, the picks. And it comes with helmets with lights.
Questions?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're Rob or you, but, Ed made reference to the revenue sharing board, because that's the first thing I thought of also. And I don't know how that's evolved. I remember years ago, there was concern about limited funds being available as the value continued to grow. And I just don't, or whatever it
They
was.
seem to be funding, I mean, they funded 40 grand for tasers for the sheriff's department. 40 grand for like 5 of them. Yeah, so I don't think they have necessarily a shortage of funds, but
Okay.
I always think with this sort of thing, it's worth applying, budget for it, it's worth applying. If you don't get it, then you.
Do we apply this grant cycle coming up or no?
We're putting it I mean, it's due in a few weeks.
Few weeks, so we're gonna ask money towards the pumper or towards this stuff?
No, I think we're running down an empty trail, asking for money for something that we already signed a contract to purchase.
Okay,
Been told twice by, revenue sharing that they don't reimburse for vehicle purchases. That's not what that's designed to do. It's designed to help a fire department that is short on money but needs equipment. So to speak.
So like the Polaris and the suits might be.
well, yeah, but
Better.
the way they voted for themselves, that's not a true statement then. Because Township doesn't need any money, but they've awarded themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, you can go down it's not a reimbursement, I
okay,
guess you want to say.
So I guess if we approve this in the budget, it'd be worth asking for that. I think as a grant, if we don't get it, then we can,
So-
potentially. Which one do you think's more likely to get funded? The suits, they're a third of the cost, but.
I would, so, I mean, they're both, so they like to see something that you're buying that you can use countywide.
well, the rest of the track thing would be,
So the Polaris, you could, but then again, the boat thing too, I mean, ice rescue and stuff, I mean, it's a toss up. So
we could talk about which one to apply for, just. need to
Well, he's
do
got
it.
a deadline though coming up.
Yeah, I mean,
And we have to have a resolution at our next meeting then, right, for that? So we need to is that gonna meet the deadline?
So I can tell you what's happening on the fire service side and the revenue sharing board. They're going to the revenue sharing board this time to buy new turnout gear for the whole county.
Probably not a good cycle to go for.
Not a good cycle
I'd probably
to go
wait till
for.
the fall.
And we're gonna get two sets out of that, so there's 10 grand. Roughly that we're
And
gonna,
that's gonna eat up all their money.
well, they don't.
Public safety is only, what is it, 10% they give of the total?
For the realities, that's all they're doing.
Yeah, they're not doing
Public
any-
safety grants, they're not doing offsets, they're not doing.
No, there isn't enough money.
They're not doing any of
Yeah.
that stuff.
No, and so I've been going to the meetings religiously here in the last couple of years and, there's not the money there that used to be there, right? And so they're tightening up and they're getting a little bit, they're starting to draw lines in the sand, like they've told everybody in the last one, please, nobody come for a drone purchase. We are not gonna approve any more drones.
I think if you went with this one in the fall cycle and said we're gonna match, 30%, so 10 grand, and we're asking for 25 or whatever, I think that, I mean, nobody ever goes there with a match, do they? Hardly ever that I've seen.
Don't they like that?
And I think that would get you 25, I think you'd get it if you did
For
that.
the,
And just make that.
For the side by
side by
side,
side,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cause that has more countywide use probably.
Eventually.
potentially, I mean, you have lakes all over
I mean, do you
too.
have a way to get it somewhere else if you need to put it on a trailer?
It's on a trailer. It'd be
On a trailer as it is, right? So you can just,
it would fit on that, it would be a full trailer, but yeah,
okay.
um,
Rob, my only concern about we've bought a lot of equipment back to back to back to back, and so I asked you for that comprehensive list of all your like things that have to be replaced periodically. I'd really like to work with you and I'll set up the spreadsheet to populate that with, it's just for planning these purchases, so we can stagger them out a little bit more rather than them all piling up on top of each other. And I know sometimes that's just the way it is, but if we plan a little bit more, it can extend the life or shorten the life, or it's gonna make a lot easier down the road when we get to this stuff. And once we get that plan in place and the board looks at it and kind of blesses it, then we can actually put because the fire funds are restricted for fire, but we can restrict them further for future purchases and actually have that cash in a sub account. So it's not confused that, yeah, there's all this money sitting out there to be able to do stuff. We're setting that aside for
Purchase.
a new rescue vehicle in 8 years and a new pumper in 10 years, whatever it might be, but it's all on a schedule, subject to change and everything. But I think that's the best way to do that. And I don't think we'd be running into this, because if we don't sell that old pumper for 300,000, we're gonna have to loan some money probably from the general fund. So we just need to be aware of this stuff back to back to back. It's not, we don't have unlimited revenues coming in.
Yep.
So,
so the truck fund and that is set up, right?
We just have it listed like that, but it's not
It's
true.
not formal. We need to formalize this and make sure we got it.
I was under the impression there was a formal that was, before my time submitted and approved, and it was a 10 years, 20, 15-year cycle.
It hasn't been formally tracked and it hasn't been quote unquote set aside. It's setting in the cash. That's why we have money to buy this, but it needs to be more formalized.
Right.
And then something that you just review once a year, and probably during budget.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah,
have it, so.
we presented that 10 years ago, 11 years ago,
Probably.
and we approved that that's the way things are gonna go for the next 10
But-
years.
But did anything happen, and other than it's just listed there as money, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not, for all intents and
Okay.
purposes, it's being done, but it's not being done.
Yeah, I get it,
So,
okay,
All you gotta do is throw one thing out of the cycle and you're screwed.
yeah,
That's what happens.
Cindy,
So am I hearing that we would not apply for a revenue sharing grant this round?
Correct.
Okay,
I do the fall maybe.
well, if they're gonna ask for suits for the whole county, there won't be any money left, because,
Well, don't say that.
well,
If you say that, there won't be any.
well, you can turn in a grant application, you can turn one in for the ice rescue suits and see what happens.
Pick something reasonable, 5 grand, 10 grand, pick.
How much are the rescue suits, 20?
I mean, the city files generally at least 2 applications every round, one for police and one
Every
for.
single.
just say no.
So you could do the ice rescue and then do the Polaris on the second one.
I mean, yeah.
But unless did all the fire agencies
All
have agreed
agree.
to not put anything else in this time around except for this big grant? Was that?
Right, they said in the association meeting that they were all gonna jump on board with this because
Oh, well then,
that's gonna be
That's different.
80,000, 90,000, maybe more dollars. for
So
cars.
I think I would write the grant for the
Fall.
vehicle in the fall.
Yeah, I'll do I'll fill out the grant paperwork for the ice rescue suits this time around. And I'll have it ready and I'll ask around to see if anybody else is.
But here's the reason I asked the question. The deadline for the grant is March 14th. And normally that would be okay, but we moved our meeting down back to the 19th, so we wouldn't have a meeting before that for a resolution. And so that's why I'm bringing it up, that we might have to,
We're gonna have to have a meeting, Nick. We're gonna have to have another meeting for the budget. We just put it on that, right?
It's the
no,
19th.
it's after the
It's
date.
at the regular
That's
meeting.
my point.
I think,
Unless we
Because we
schedule
moved our
that.
meeting.
Right.
in all honesty, I mean, in all honesty, I think probably timing would be terrible to ask for ice rescue stuff this time of year.
No, I know that was something.
But I thought you said it's a year round.
Just as a backup.
It feels like if there was kind of a gentleman's agreement at the association that they were just gonna put their efforts on this, we should just wait till the fall.
And that was the consensus when I looked at the association meeting. It was, okay, do we all agree this is what we're gonna do this time around?
Yeah, that's what I
Then
would.
I wouldn't go against, there won't be much more than 90 grand anyways. There was only 100,000 last time.
Yeah.
Is it still like 2% of the,
So, 10,
is a percent of the,
3%.
Really gone.
of the electronic gaming? or
Because it's only
something?
the electronic,
It's like, yeah.
and all the online stuff doesn't
2%,
count.
I think. Yeah.
2%, but the online doesn't count.
Yeah.
So all the Bet Rivers stuff, that's not included.
Right.
All the card games aren't included.
Yeah, it's just the electronic or the whatever slot machine.
Yep. And that's gone down and down because online has taken a good share of gambling.
Mhm.
Not just here, but I mean
But
in
like,
general.
cause you can just do it online.
You can do it on your
anywhere.
phone at home.
Gotcha.
You have to go down there.
What we did in the fire department budget, Rob and I talked about it, is we broke the supplies out a little bit more, so now there was like 2 or 3 before, now there's 4 supply items. We kind of reclassified them, so we've got supplies for public education, which is when the kids come in or they're at a parade or whatever. Supplies for tools and equipment, so specifically for that. Supplies for medical, which is like the stuff that goes on the trucks. And then just supplies, which could be office, cleaning, salt, whatever it is, lacquer. So it's just gonna make it a little bit easier to budget and track from year to year. It was a little bit confusing before, so.
And we're gonna get a sheet for me to have,
Yeah.
so that when I see invoices come through, I can put what I think it should go under, and
Yeah.
if there's discrepancy, we can discuss it, but
Okay.
a little better idea of where the money is being pulled out of.
Okay. Done?
I am.
Can I ask this, it's not really a budget question, but I got here late, so.
So I'll have public comment. Are we done with Rob? I don't know.
Well, it's related. It's really not budget related, just real quick. I mean, do we have the capability to get to a medical emergency, like at the top of a steep icy driveway in the winter, like with the ambulance couldn't get up?
So we run into that at least once or twice a year in the winter time. Our SUV obviously is 4-wheel drive. If it's a case where we need to, we take the side by side with the trailer and go up.
So we have the
Yeah,
trailer.
we have the capability.
Just thinking ahead, thank you.
So you say you live on Big Hill?
Well, my mom does, and my
Okay.
dad, I don't.
Here's the issue there, and I know what you're talking about. So if they plow it, there's no issue. And then if they don't plow it right, and you had last 2 days like
Right.
this,
I see.
oh, and then it freezes, yeah, you don't have a hell of a time ever getting up there, right?
We sort of have the trailer and the equipment.
We have had this year where we had to respond with our side by side and our stove basket trailer.
It's just you can't, we tried to, but just like that house you and I looked at, remember the driveway? They did the driveway and they put sheets of steel up for retaining walls.
Sure.
And a big arc, okay. I barely make my pickup around the arc because the steel is up this high, so when you go to turn,
In the
you're
summer. Yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah.
The fire truck, we didn't think the fire truck would ever make it couldn't make the curve. The frame of the truck would hit the steel
Yeah.
because the angle you had.
Skinny.
Yeah, it wasn't big enough. Now, if there would have been no steel, if the steel was cut off at the ground, you probably have made it. You'd have been a little hairy about your tire hanging out close to the edge of the cliff,
Yeah.
but you probably would have made it. But there are a few driveways. That road isn't that bad, I don't think.
Well, my sister's is,
Yours is wonky.
yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And anyone else for Rob? No, I'm gonna ask Libby. Libby, I don't know if you have any, I forgot to ask for public comment in this part of this meeting. Do you have anything else you want to add or question?
No.
Okay. Anything else for public?
Well, I'm just curious on, like, how, after this year, I see we're making some big payments on the new fire truck. So next fiscal year, do we still owe more, or what's our ongoing obligation?
Yeah, like we just talked about, we've made one payment, there's two more payments left, so one of them was supposed to be towards the latter part of this year, it hasn't happened. He's telling us it's gonna be in the next year, so we'll budget for the second and third payments in the 26 budget.
And so that's part of what, like the 300,000?
Well, it would be a total of 100,
That's for
243 plus 185, so 428.
And that's more likely now for 2026.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked, well, you weren't here, were you here when you took, we may have to borrow money from the township and just, okay, because I don't know what they're gonna give us for the, the other truck might go up for all we know. If steel,
Especially if we're gonna sell the fire hose on it.
right, and if steel goes up,
Yeah.
like you're talking about, and all new trucks go up, it might play out to our benefit of those. Okay. Okay. Nothing? Okay, very good. No questions, no.
Ready to go?
If you want,
Oh, come
You should-
think about it. I think about it.
you want pizza?
Hold the door for you? Yeah.
You want pizza?
No, I get it.
We're supposed to go pick a pizza up, so, okay, go ahead. Beck, you wanna,
I'm not sure, I mean, Ed's pretty well detailed it in this footnote section, is there, if there's any questions, I can try to answer
I
them.
don't think they got back. Oh, they just have my narrative.
we don't,
Well, and I supplied the spreadsheet to everybody, and I had
I'll be
to
right
have
back
them
from
the
the meeting.
spreadsheet. I know that like my original submission is like 167,905, and the way Ed put it in there, it came in at 167,851, so within $55. So what I submitted on mine is pretty darn close to what Ed's got loaded into the system. I made a mistake in contract services, in every department I thought I removed one-time expenses before I added an inflation factor, but for some reason on contract services, I missed 3 items. Ed caught those for me. And so I made an adjustment on contract services. I'm coming in $2,000 a little bit higher than what Ed's got in the budget. But like I said, overall, we're within $50. So I can go through any category if there are any questions.
Well, since Libby asked about the capital outlays, why don't I run through each of them and then you can talk about it.
All right.
So the first one you've got is ADA rigid Langland walkway and 3 benches for 20 grand.
Correct. The rigid walkway on the south end, because we have shifting sand patterns every year, we thought we had enough to get down to the flat spot, but with the change last year, we didn't, so it ended right in the middle. We want to buy enough this year, again, it depends on the sand, to get the rigid walkway down to the bottom and then put a T, and the length of the T will be as long as whatever we have left getting to the bottom. So that, and then we also want to put some benches on there. And again, that makes that ADA compliant all the way down to the beach. So that's one. The next one is irrigation system at North Point. That is at $2,600. There's something that's called the WAG garden with all. Yeah, but it's all native plants when you walk in, and it's accessible for people with wheelchairs and such. All abilities garden. And to get the irrigation to that's $2,600. We talked about fell deck. doing it fell deck, similar to what we did at Carden, spending $6,000. And what we would do is clean up that parking lot where it's oftentimes full of water and puddles, and put a clear definition of maybe railroad ties or something. We would get estimates. And then also underneath the bench, make that ADA compliant. And then we would take one of our ADA tables from out at North Point and switch it with the old table that's down there. So essentially, we would be doing to fell deck what we did to Carden the year before. Again, just getting our parks up to a nice standard. We have.
Can I stop you for a minute?
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any issues with the family on that, should there?
Well, we would ask though, and
Should ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, you got it, you thought about that.
yeah, they sent that note in the last year,
Right.
saying, so. If approved, we would go to them.
Well, we have a disagreement on that. The restriction is on a structure. That's not a structure.
Oh,
So, but they need to be informed.
Yeah, just to be super nice.
as a courtesy, that we would absolutely do that.
Cause that is not a structure.
We're just talking about leveling the gravel and making it ADA compliant.
Swimming
Yeah,
pool
yeah.
over there.
It's
Yeah, it's always been like that. I mean, you have these huge ponds over there that sit
They
there,
must have put like 3 yards of gravel in there, didn't they?
but it was close by the road.
The county did last summer, put a lot in and made it a lot better. But this would just be cleaning it up and then doing like we did at Carden, where there's a nice base for the table. And then you could have a wheelchair, and then we have a wheelchair table there.
And pull up underneath that.
Probably a
You're
couple
taking-
pounds.
You're gonna take one of those from North Point?
Correct. You can take this one here, move it out to North Point and bring one from North Point over there. So that's $6,000 budgeted for that, but again, we would get a budget, or we would get estimates from, you know, the Larsons, the Anthony's, et cetera.
I don't believe it costs that much, well, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, probably wouldn't. Last year, we were about 3,500 at Carden, so I think 6 is a safe amount. Next one is an estimate of $20,000 for a some sort of shade structure out at North Point. Michelle does a lot of events out there, and a lot of those events have senior citizens. And we have the tables now, but it can be sunny, so we want to investigate getting some sort of shade to put over those tables out there.
Like an open gazebo or something.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and, you know, if we get it in the budget, like all these things, we would bring back to you several different estimates and so on and so forth, so we could have a, you know, real discussion about.
Is that something that come down in the winter then? Or going
No.
to stay up?
I'm sorry,
Is it?
no, we're thinking a permanent structure, but it just depends on how much this is gonna cost.
It was an open pole barn, basically.
Yeah, I was thinking just like the tent that they have at Manistee National, or some of those shade structures that they have, they're like really heavy
Yeah.
duty. They're not fabric, but they're.
Initially, she was talking about like a kind of a fabric shade structure, and that.
Where would you put it? Right in the same spot?
It's where the tables are now, it's right when you walk in, it's kind of where that south of that wag garden right there.
Yeah,
But these, and Ray, we've had a lot of discussion about how will this play out. We just wanted to make sure we got something in the budget that we allocate for, and then we'll bring back to you what our suggestions are.
But it almost seems like people could use that if you had a structure and there was tables there for picnics or something.
Yeah.
Oh, no question about it. So, I mean, there was a narrative, North Point being used regularly for events such as bird walks, bio blitz, field trips, butterfly palooza. In addition, walkers use it year round. We put picnic tables for park goers. It's just a gathering area, the front of the park, providing shade cover from light rain. We propose a 20 by 20 shelter in the area where specific picnic tables are.
Thank you.
Also encourage picnicking here. Last year, we hosted a wedding, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot that goes on there, and this is just like the next logical step of getting our parks to the
And
next
we have
level.
power there and.
We have power there.
Not there, you got power where the well is, but that's not there. How far is the
That's a
well from there?
Well, the well's only
that's not far.
about 30, 40 feet away.
Okay, so you could
You have
put
power there, you have power there.
feet, I think. Yeah,
20 by 30, or how big a building are you talking?
right now we said 20 by 20,
20 by
enough
30,
to cover the tables, the 3 or 4 tables we have there.
I would say 20 by 30, I mean, it's not that, not that expensive. You're not putting steel on the sides. It's just the structure with the metal roof.
Well, it's been my thought to give a little more thought to this and do it in phases. So you don't want to tip.
No, I don't.
Anything that's cheap and
No.
cheesy looking, it isn't gonna last. So bite the bullet, put in the foundation and whatever you're gonna do 1 year, the next year, do whatever you're gonna do, and when you get done, you got a decent gazebo.
Well, Bob, that's why we went from original $10,000 estimate when we were talking about the 10 type structures. We bumped it to 20, thinking we might be able to find something that would be a permanent structure that, you know, fits in that environment very well. You know, but again, the next step is we need to do the investigations, bring back several different options and.
And maybe that 20 gets us the phase one, you know what I mean? That could be the phase one budget, potentially.
One thing I know we don't want to do is the village, that what they put up was really nice in the parks. A little small, but too expensive. You need to just do, nothing is, that's really nice, but I mean,
Right.
Oh, the band thing.
yeah.
It's nice, but yeah, that was a pricey thing.
Like all of our budget, even if we get it approved here, we don't spend it, we come back.
Oh, I
and
know.
do the specifics,
Well,
so.
I like the idea of having a placeholder and then do some investing. Maybe the Parks Committee can brainstorm a little bit about, you know, mini master plan for that area, you know, what
Yeah.
the vision is.
And maybe this summer we can take a couple trips and look at other communities and.
Well, and there's been a lot of discussion about that with Tyler and, you know, the invasive species, you know, burns and such. I mean, there's a lot that we could be doing out at that place to take it much higher than it is right now. But anyway, that's the $20,000 we had there. And then we also put in $30,000 as a reserve. And that's just our 10% of any potential grants that we would go to. It would give us some funds that have been reserved for those. And then, Ed, one thing I don't have in here is we talked about if there's any spending on the trails.
Yeah.
And then at the DNR, and I'm not seeing that.
I didn't put it in yet, 'cause I wanted to talk about it with the group.
Okay, well, then I'm done with
Yeah.
capital expenditures, if you want to move to that.
So
Okay,
what,
so
yeah, go on.
maybe you're gonna answer my question. So I'll wait.
Well, so we've got this Michigan Health Endowment Fund, $100,000, that's nowhere in the budget right now. So the thought was it should go in Parks and Recreation, and we should have it as a placeholder. And I don't know if we'll spend any this year, the fiscal year is almost over, but probably under professional services, or maybe even a separate line item, so it's easy to report on. And then if we're gonna do any kind of a grant match for the paving,
That was.
and I didn't know how
one of my
much that
questions.
should be, but that's not in there right now.
That was my, well, that's on my notes to talk about. Do you wanna talk about that now?
Yeah, how much do you think we should have in there for that?
So here's the tough part. We already approved $5,000 for the mini grant. And then the proposal from Ron Brown and Sons, if we went with the higher budget number, it's 87,120, but it is clearly a budget number. So I'm wondering if we should budget for 100,000, if you will, so 5 and 10,000, just because we don't know what that asphalt number is gonna be.
5 and 10 or 5 and 100?
5 and 10, sorry, so the highest budget number was 87,120, but that was done December of last year. And we don't know what costs are gonna be this year. So my only point is, instead of budgeting at 10% of that at 8,700, I'm thinking budget 10,000, assuming it could be as high as 100,000.
Oh,
That's all I meant.
Okay,
So we would need a total of 15,000 if we were gonna proceed.
okay,
I'm supportive of that.
Yeah.
And also adding in the 100,000 for the Health Endowment Fund grant, I mean,
Yeah.
whether. I think that's another topic of discussion, if we even get to the point of spending that, if it's just out of reach financially, do we even bother, just,
Yeah.
anyway, that's a different.
Well, and I think we have a meeting coming up, Friday. And we're gonna,
we need to, we need to hammer that out and figure out, okay, if you're gonna do this phase, what are we gonna try to do here and come up with a total, and then present that to the board at some point and say, okay, are we willing to, and here's the figure. Right?
yeah,
I mean-
and that's kind of where, yeah, it's gotta get.
Before you spend any money doing other stuff, I mean, if you're not fiscally able to do it, then I don't wanna spend their $100,000 to then tell them, yeah, thanks, and then.
Right.
All right, so I'll put in, 15 grand for the
Parking.
DNR.
Yeah, I had hoped to save us some money and do it as one grant, but it's not gonna work that way because DNR just will not allow us to proceed with one grant until they see the engineering.
Does, the community foundation look more favorably on a higher match percentage or not really?
So I guess if it was very competitive, they would. And so on the mini grant, we have a very high grant percentage because we were trying, excuse me, it was 5,900 that we're paying.
And what's the total for that?
So the engineering was 10,900.
Okay.
We're paying 5,900
Okay.
because the mini grant can only be for 5,000.
Got it.
And that's why I was trying to put it together, but it's just not gonna work.
So I can make those two edits. I think I'll put the community foundation expense like in a totally separate line item, just so it's a lot easier to report if we end up spending the money, but.
But it will be within what broad category, like in contract services?
Yeah, it'll probably be like a subcategory underneath, professional services. I'm assuming that's what most of those are gonna be, right?
Okay.
Or just, yeah. I guess the other thing, to talk about briefly on the parks budget is we've got money for events and then also for maintenance, similar to what we did last year. So, I think that worked out pretty well.
And I mean, I've added some extra, expenses in there as line items, bi-weekly sweeping of the sand on the rigid walkway and the painting of the infrastructure out there, and that sort of thing, but I can go into detail on any one of those if you want to, but,
That's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. I do have a question. I still have these, public access markers. Who is the, entity that would be responsible for maybe deciding where the rest of them go?
you mean road ends?
Yeah.
The big metal posts you're talking about?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We said we would take road ends within Parks and Rec, because nobody wants it, but it's still.
Yeah, well, that's why that's why I bring it up, is someone needs to, at least, we've got, how many, there's probably
So
12 or 14 of them, I don't even know how many there is.
we've talked about this a lot. But I think this is what needs to happen.
Okay,
Personally. Now, how it gets done is a different issue. That's the problem, right? Is how does it get done?
well, I'll know what.
In theory, all of the township public road ends should be inspected in the spring when the snow goes. And, in the summer, people keep an eye on them, and then late in the fall to make sure everything's been taken off them. So at least 3 times a year. And we've, in the past, surveyed some of these and put some of these markers back in. And I think we had Steve Hall or somebody doing it, but we need to inventory which ones have markers, which ones don't, do they need it, and then budget money to put some in. I think there's some money in the budget here for surveying.
There is.
I don't know that if it's in the parks or if it's in the, I think I have that. And maybe it should be in the parks budget, we might move it, but anyway, to do some of those, I know Bob had 8 or 9 of them done before. But we have to have a plan, we've got an ordinance, but we have to have a plan to manage that, so we can enforce it.
I mean, would that be something we could set up a committee in the Parks and Rec?
Well,
And get some people.
we have a maintenance employee in the budget.
We can
section
have her
now.
do it, actually.
Yeah.
We have a maintenance employee, and their job is to inspect all of the,
Inspect it.
there's no reason that we can't add that responsibility to that.
Yeah,
I think
we
that's a
need to
good
come
idea.
up with a
We
checklist
should
of the
have a
location.
separate committee to handle road end ordinance, period.
Well, Parks and Rec, but they could have the employee just go,
Right,
I,
separate
oh,
committee,
well,
so it gets done. And it gets done once and gets it over with. Been doing this for 15.
Well, we don't need to update the ordinance, Bob, we just need to.
You don't need to
monitor
update the
it.
ordinance, you
Right.
need the inspections, you need surveys, you need somebody to put it in.
I think Mariah can do the she can do the inspections for one thing, she's very good.
So I think once you do the inventory in the spring, you find out which ones are missing posts. You find out which ones have been surveyed before, you put it all in a spreadsheet, and then you just say, okay, we've got 3 of them here that are missing posts and haven't been surveyed, so let's get them surveyed and put the posts in. get the GPS coordinates.
And the road commission was the one that did it for me last. on the-
Yeah, so I think that's a good idea. You might, even if you have to give her some more hours, but just give her real clear instructions on what needs to happen, you know?
How many are we talking about? Like, how
Well,
many?
you gotta check them all. We have 20.
A lot.
Look at his head.
Yeah, that's another thing, I wanna put an inset on here, I forget exactly the number, we just went through the whole thing.
20. I don't know.
30, 31,
30.
32,
Oh, my God. Yeah.
but some of those are observation areas, we're talking about those that are considered public road ends, so there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And a lot of them don't have those signs there, so.
And we have similar issues where we have potentially private structures on township owned land inside some of the swampy parcels, so there's. Over a period of time, I'd like to see us get a survey of every township property and have it marked in a way that you're not gonna lose it in 2 years and have to have it resurveyed. Just so we know where the.
GTRLC made the comment that we've got encroachments on our
Yeah.
properties out there, so, I mean, we know it's happening.
Right.
And they would expect us to deal with the encroachments before we get to move forward on a project, so. I'll include that, road end inventory and spring fall in part of her responsibility.
And I'll look, Vic, and see how much money we have in for surveying, and maybe we just slide that into the Parks Department so we know it's there, and we have an annual part for that if it's somewhere else, or if it's not in there, I can add it in, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting.
Okay.
And that would be nice to, like you said, do at least an annual inspection just to see if somebody's drug their shanty on there, or, I mean, there's.
There's one on, the Clark Road, there was 3 boats going
Yeah,
up there for part of the summer.
I
think you
know.
went down and done it.
They've got people
I drive by that every day and I'm like, what the heck, why is that there? Yeah,
But if you don't do
Public
that,
access.
Yeah.
then people start to,
Adams, did he clean up his? Oh, Adams was the one that had the lifts out there. I know zoning got after him. On Bayview. Okay.
and I think the more people,
And the road
I'm
commission,
sure
this
it's-
is off topic, not off topic. The road commission called me and somebody over by Wickedy Wall down the lake where they plow. He couldn't make the curve because they pulled their huge lift up. I've been down there and I said, well, it's not our road end, you know. And Wickedy Wall, those are all, I mean, you need to talk to those people, but apparently it's blocking the road. From the drifting. And I said, Brad, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that's not a township. That's not a we issue, a me issue.
It's an E issue.
Well, it's a they issue, so. Okay. Anything else, Beck?
unless you have something for me.
Well, you're gonna take over the road ends. Let's see, you're gonna supervise all that.
We'll do what was just said.
Yeah, that's
We'll do
great.
spring fall surveys and Mariah will handle that.
Years ago, and this goes back 30 years, Helen made it a point that we got 2 or 3 of those surveyed every year. We just
and
did.
we're gonna document that, Dave, and get it in a way that we can manage it, because right now it's not, whether that's on a spreadsheet and GIS or both.
Right.
like an aerial map of some, like,
Well-
outlay it on there somehow, or.
The inventory, when they were inspected, do we have a survey? What was the date of the survey?
Yeah.
Where are the signs? And there are signs up on a lot of them. Some of them got knocked down because they put them in the water. And then when the water, or no, they put them in the water. They put them high, dry, the water came up and then the ice took it out and then.
I can tell you where one is, you could drag it out of the.
Is it down there on the other side?
By the channel,
Is
it's
it?
still in there, yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah, ice is.
Maybe it's all buried now by others, so it used to be there.
It'll show up again this year.
Water will be low.
It's going down.
Oh, here's one. So, do you want me to kind of just run through each of the departments?
Yeah,
really
let's
quick?
do,
So,
this going
I
on.
just noticed one thing,
What's that?
there, in the township board contractual services, there's a bunch of things that we had in the previous budget that didn't get, I don't think it's saved, so things like all the software support that we use citywide, so for, for the website software, for the Laserfish software, for some of our Microsoft licenses. So we need to, and for the fireworks, I've got to put those over into the budget column, so it looks like it's gonna be about right around $15,000. So that just didn't get, and that has the household hazardous waste in there as well.
Okay.
But there, nothing else there is really all that different, except for, again, for Libby's benefit, the capital outlay that's penciled in here. I put money in just again as a placeholder for purchasing, recycling property. I don't think I wanna do that. I don't think we're gonna have to do that, but if we have to, it's in there just to.
Is that part of the 105,000?
That's 75.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna ask about.
And then I have 25,000, again, it's high, it's a placeholder for improving any recycling property. And I guess that could be either
With fence.
ours, or we would need to put a fence over there if the county agrees to that. It's high, but it's a placeholder. And then I just had 5,000 for other miscellaneous stuff. But that's just, those are things that are kind of like township wise.
So the repainting of the township hall, you're not showing as a capital outlay?
Not in the, under the township board.
Okay.
No,
Is that a building and grounds?
yeah,
Okay, cause I saw 18.5.
yeah, let's run down and just get to it, so.
Okay.
The supervisor and clerk, there's really nothing, you know, I'll just. Just easier that way. So basically, supervisor's budget is flat. He doesn't spend any money on supplies, so, I bumped that down. We had more money in it last year because we bought a computer. And, you know, just,
They don't use much paper.
don't use much paper, so there's really not. And we'll talk about wages when we get through the general fund here, I guess. Nothing else.
About clothes.
Yeah, on clerk, we've got, so there is increases in wages. Everything else is pretty much flat. Wages went up more than you would expect on a percentage basis for a raise because we've been working Mandy 4 days plus a week. And I think, and it's because she's coming in, she comes in at 8 and, so I included more hours for her. Using, I figured, you know, we'd let the new clerk decide whether she needs them or not, but she's kind of been acting almost as a, you know, like a, not an office manager, but she's here more, she's here.
She's here more,
present, so I wanted the budget to reflect what the reality is and what it could be.
And that might change once the new clerk.
It absolutely could, but at least it gives that.
And it might be one of those things that's helpful for the community if there's somebody here.
She's not here Thursdays now anymore, is she? No, she's not.
Okay. But she is there, you know.
She's there 3 days
6 extra
longer.
hours
Yes.
a week.
Yeah,
Anyway,
which comes in, it'll help be very helpful, but she's not here on Thursday anymore. Oh, fire.
So you're really
Yeah.
only projecting about $2,500 more than what reality is this year.
yeah.
Good thing you got our pizza.
I should have let him take it with us.
Probably burnt place down.
We went the wrong way.
Board of review is basically very little change, just a little bit on their, wage.
And everyone was happy with their assessments, I'm assuming, the ones
I was
last.
very happy.
Oh, no.
Mine was interesting. I had my house and lot go up, and then I had my 2 additional parcels go down, so it's kind of interesting.
Which is absolutely the way things played out this year.
Can I ask about that? I mean, 'cause people noticed on certain residential properties.
Depends what-
SEV and.
Depends where the sales were and what they were for that size pipe, because that's all broke down into different. So this might have been high last year, and then all of a sudden it came down, and this down here was, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's whoever buys. It's all set by the market.
Michelle, can you unmute yourself for a second?
Yes,
No,
I apologize if you've been waiting. I didn't see that, or did you just pop in?
I just popped in.
Oh, good. Vic, we moved him up. And he talked a lot about the capital stuff. Is there anything you want to talk about in the budget? We kind of moved past that and didn't really make any major changes to it, so.
Oh, well, that was kind of my question.
Yeah, it's all looking really good from my perspective.
Okay, thank you. I might not listen in anymore then.
Okay,
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.
We're losing our fan base is dwindling.
How many people are on there? 100? No. How many?
we have
Well,
one person.
I mean, this is just a work session. I mean, we're not necessarily, I mean, stuff can be revisited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just what you
It's
said.
not locked,
I'm like,
not
wait a
locked in
minute.
stone. You can, no.
Wait,
Treasurer's budget, there's the wage adjustments, and I reduced the supplies by 1,200 because I bought the new computer. For that.
Okay.
One thing I don't have, just so everybody's aware, Windows 10 is end of life in October. So I'm gonna try to get those done as soon as possible. I think we can just absorb that under supplies. There's not that many computers, but they need to be up to Windows 11 if they can. So
Okay.
that's going. And we go to assessor.
Did you say you thought there was 100 people online?
that was sarcasm.
So,
These are.
So the major difference on the assessing is the supply item, and that's because we've got the pivot point software, which we didn't have in
Last year.
in last year's budget, so that's $1,000. And then,
she's still under contract, so that doesn't
yeah,
change.
Molly's still under contract, so I moved the pivot point software out of the contractual services into the line that it really belonged in, as well as the Apex software. So our contract went up a little bit from 46.3 to 48.6, but those other two went down. That's why that's a little bit different. So basically flat on the assessing. Elections,
A huge drop because of the,
We still have two elections.
yeah, there was
this year.
there was a huge wage budget because we had no idea what the early voting was gonna look like and all that, and that's just not what it turned out to be. So I went through, we've got spreadsheets that kind of model it, and I put money in there, but that should be enough for the elections. If we have to tweak it, we can always amend the budget, but I wanted it to be more realistic than what it was, because now we kind of know, plus there's no early voting. Everything else is basically flat. One thing that we're gonna have to change this year, though, for this next election is we've got to pay these election workers like employees, not 1099 contractors. So we're gonna have to get with the new clerk and make sure that happens. That's just how it has to be. So.
Cause they are employees.
Let's see, building.
Do we have to track, this is just a quick, do we have to track the sick thing for all employees?
Yeah, that'll be a thing too, so.
Okay.
oh, that's right.
Oh,
But because we're small, well, I know actually we're not gonna be more than 10.
10, yeah, 10 people.
We're actually need to be doing it now, so we'll have to do a retroactive spreadsheet, but yeah, for every 30 hours work, you've got, but there's exceptions for seasonal employees and we'll work with that. That's, I don't see.
Fire department, no, it's just track it, that's all. it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the question is, how do you track it? You do it on a spreadsheet, you do it through the payroll program, so it's gonna. be a
Payroll
little bit
program would
of
be
a-
easier, but.
Maybe.
You do it lump sum.
Or you give them a lump sum, which is an option, so we have to talk through that at the next meeting.
Okay,
A lot less work.
It is a ton less.
I didn't know you could do lump sum.
Well, you couldn't until they amended the law. They just tweeted it. I mean, it just passed like 2 days ago,
Yeah.
like on Friday when it was due.
That's when they added the lump sum
They
adjustment.
made several adjustments to it, yeah.
Yeah, because the bookwork is gonna,
It's not worth the crown. I don't.
no, it's costing more to do that than it is though.
Okay, so this is the township, our building and grounds. And we have,
So we have 18.5 outlay.
yeah.
We're gonna need
so,
more than that for this side.
Well, hang on, I was trying to see if we've got it under, let's look at the paying. I'm just going down the list here to see what's changed. Repairs and maintenance. Let's see. Building repaint, we had 10,000. Is that enough? No?
No, because we're not gonna repaint it, we're gonna end up residing it.
If you wanna finish the.
If you finish it off, you better, I mean, why put 10 grand or 12 grand into paint? Why not put 22 grand in the steel and be done with it?
Well, it's kinda late now. We already, this would be on our own.
Well, it'd be on our own anyways. They weren't gonna pay for that.
No.
But what's the other 8,500 for then?
Okay, so repairs and maintenance, we've got 10 grand for building repaint, 2 grand electrical, 2 grand HVAC, 1,000 plumbing. And repairs and maintenance.
Wait a minute.
Well, and go by your thing today.
Which one are we looking at?
I'm just asking about the steel guy for real quick.
Oh, you're talking insurance.
Yeah, you got the check back because he never got the check. I was a little lost there.
He quoted the job And it is more than the insurance company will cover. So the insurance company and I got together and came up with a rainy thing about depreciation.
Okay,
And that if we depreciate the damage, it would balance out the top cost of the estimate for the siding. So to get things started, we sent in 23,000 something as a down payment. That was in January 27th. And today I get the check back in the mail, no such address, return to sender.
uh-oh,
Well, my first thought was, well, what, you know,
had the wrong address.
Who was the company that gave us the bid?
yeah,
Who was it?
it's called E-Class. No. A-Class.
A-class, not E-class.
Restoration and construction and restoration out of Troy. After I cooled off a little bit and called the guy. I don't know why he sent it there. There's multiple reasons I don't know. Anyway, he's gonna be here tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Was it the wrong address? The check was mailed to the wrong address.
Mhm.
That's why, so he never got the check.
Well, Dave, we're getting into this. He said he should.
Oh,
Well, you know, I wasn't too nice over the phone.
okay. No, really, I'm shocked.
What's he gonna be here Monday morning?
Now, he's gonna be here tomorrow morning
To do what?
at 10 o'clock. To meet with Dave. And I wanna give him that check for the down payment.
Are we comfortable this is a reputable firm that's gonna do good work for us?
Yes, I checked, and that's what threw me.
Why it came back. Yeah, that's when he first sent it to me. I went, well, that don't make sense because they seem to be all up and had a good rating and all that,
And he
so.
has a builder's license. He has had those business. He's done a couple jobs in Manistee that look pretty decent to me.
Have we specified what steel we're using, what's the right gauge and all
He
that stuff?
specified what steel we're using, because the insurance company specified which steel he had.
Yeah.
We had nothing to do with it.
That we had nothing to do with, but anyway, I just brought that up because
So I
it's in
don't
here.
think, I guess, so.
So we gonna
before we
need more
leave
money
that-
than that,
well,
Bob?
Before we leave that topic, I don't.
Are we gonna
have
need more than
that
18,000 for our, if we go, are we gonna need 20 grand? We're gonna need 25 grand
For what?
to finish the building. Over and above what the insurance is gonna pay for the sale.
I would say, if you're gonna paint it, you're gonna need probably.
So I guess this is, I didn't have the steel, I don't have the steel in here, because we've got the money, we got the insurance money, we haven't paid anybody. How much is it gonna be for the steel on everything? Like, put that in, 'cause that's not.
What we received from the insurance company. Plus the 7 grand for the depreciation will equal the quote that he gave us.
Okay.
So we should have 0 invested in the siding.
Right, but I still have to budget for it, 'cause it's
Yes.
gonna be an expenditure in the previous year. So what I have in there right now is I have 10 for painting, but you're saying it's probably gonna be 70 grand or whatever it is, because it didn't get done this fiscal year, so
Well,
that's gotta be
that's on us.
updated for the next one, so I'll get the right number for that.
And I'm saying, instead of just painting it, to me, it would make more sense. Cause the steel's a little bit different, it looks a little different, cause this stuff they can't match 100%.
Okay.
The pattern, it has that commercial look, it's different. It's just a different pattern. And it'll be on a different wall, I understand, but to me, if you're gonna spend, let's say it's 15 grand to paint. I'd feel more comfortable spending, I don't know, whatever it is, twice as much even, to put new steel on the rest of it. Cause then you finish the whole building and it's done. You don't have to come back.
Are you gonna get him to give you the estimate for that then, when he's here on Monday?
Yes.
We already done that once and I said, no, we don't want the building, the insurance company only
He
covered.
tried to put it all in an insurance company. That's where it was screwed.
They came up like 107
You know, and I said, you can't do that. They're not gonna pay for
and they gave us
mismatch. right.
69 or 59
Yeah, something like
thousand to
that.
do it. For the
It
storm.
might not work out, but at least we'll know the figure so that going forward, you can make a decision you wanna do.
Well,
or
but
not
based
do.
on the numbers I just heard, sounds like the difference is 40 grand.
It might be as high as that. I don't know.
Here, I can tell you. Wait, that's-
And I think his quote was maybe 60, 59.
What I don't like is they give you a quote and then they have this depreciated thing out, right? And then the insurance company says, yeah, but don't worry about it, because later on when they're done, you're gonna get some of that depreciated money back.
Get it all back.
And it's like, okay, then why are you taking it out?
Yeah, why?
It's the way, that's the way how to do it.
That's a holdup money.
Oh,
So if he doesn't, you know, he doesn't get anything until he gives us a lien waiver that
Okay.
he's been paid. You know, we can't even ask the insurance company to pay anything until we get that waiver.
It's like a guarantee.
Yeah, it's a lien waiver.
And then the mismatch would be on the back of the building or?
it's where the hail didn't hit it, so,
This match would be on the front,
the front
on
side.
this side.
So yeah, that would look weird then if we don't.
Oh, if you don't do the front, yeah, it'll look weird, it needs to change. If you paint it, you can paint it. It's not that much to paint on the front, but
The front just alone would probably be whatever you came up with, $3,000-4,000.
yeah, $4 grand.
But is it gonna look strange?
Well, you can match the paint to the new, probably.
But we're saying that it's the,
I'm saying it's a different steel.
yeah, the steel's gonna look
So if you go
different.
out and look at the steel here, it has great big
Yeah,
extrusions, right? And the new steel doesn't.
Architectural steel, it's not barn steel. And what he's probably quoting is barn steel.
We got 32,000, but I don't have the form that says, it says what the depreciation was on that. So it's gonna be 32 plus, let's say it's 8 on the depreciation,
It's 40,
40.
7, I know what it is.
Okay, plus another 15, so like 55. That seems what we wanna put in there.
Seems high to me, but you can.
But I mean, we can tweak it because you'll have
That's
the
fine,
number.
that's
before
fine,
the
yeah,
next-
that's fine.
So Cindy, let me go back to this. Let me refresh.
But that's the only real part of it right now, is that getting that steel done. Storm damage and that, just taken care of.
Okay, so that contractual services line item. The other thing, I'm gonna get with the new clerk and. Some of our accounts that we use for stuff are not. It's a matter of putting together the definitions of the chart of account. We haven't been consistent on how we do stuff, but for instance, contractual services and repairs and maintenance can be like, oh, which one does it go into? Because if I have a contract to plow my parking lot, which one is it, right? So we need some definition. I think there's some things that may end up moving in between here. Or we may get rid of contractual services, just have it all under repair and maintenance. It just depends. We just have to define that better. So there could be a little bit of movement in categories. I just didn't get a chance to look through everything. But some of the stuff that's in that 18,000, Cindy, is, I mean, in the past, traditionally, it's had the postage in there. That's not really contractual service, but that's where it's meant for consistency. You don't have a postage line item, so that might go under supplies. But then there's also a payment on the postage machine of 2,500. And then there's some money in here for Larson's landscaping to do stuff around here. But we're gonna have to look at all those contracts and get ready to bid them back out and maybe do them all as one.
Yeah, the one I was questioning, Ed, was the 18.5 capital outlay.
Okay, let me
Sorry,
keep
Mike.
going down and get.
Yeah, okay.
To that, so, utilities, the repairs and maintenance, we talked about that, we're gonna bump up that building and steel repair. And that
Okay,
is,
so that's where you have, okay, so that 15 was the painting originally.
Yeah, painting plus just some, electrical.
Okay, so you put it under repairs. Okay.
So the 18.5 is for the, in the capital outlay was 10 grand, which we had to carry over. We carried over, we don't have to include it, but it was to just clean up the mess that's back here from all the gravel and all that. But then we paused because we didn't know if we were gonna have a storage building. Still don't know what we're doing back there, so I just left it in. There's 6 grand to potentially replace that front door that didn't get done, so I left that in. And then 2,500, as a placeholder for a webcam, if we could find a good stop one, that's a cool attraction on our website, but I don't know where we can put it to get a nice view.
oh, is it like downtown Onekama or?
Yeah, like, we've got
Yeah.
3 of them at the city, and they're
Yeah.
100 times, I'm not exaggerating, the most popular stuff.
Are they
over any
really?
other website.
So what do you
We've
do?
got one at each beach and one down the river channel.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool, like if you could get one here where you could look at the eagles or, I don't know, we just have to, it's just a placeholder.
Can you have one out the point or no, you have to have electricity?
You need internet and electricity.
It's not gonna work there.
It's gotta be here somewhere.
Well, it would,
Would it work at Langland?
sure, got electricity there.
So,
No internet, you'd have to.
Oh,
so it sounds like capital outlay, we don't have anything in here for the storage building.
No, we needed to talk about that. If that's a thing, or just in the budget later.
Yeah, we kind of
that's
decided
my idea that you should pick out a spot.
And build a building.
You gotta build a building.
to not do it.
Yeah, you were saying like up by the cemetery or something.
Anywhere you wanna go, there's no good place to put it, 'cause a good place would be in the village. That's high rent district.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's a lot for sale in the village we could buy to put it on anyways.
There's one across the road,
Yeah, they're not selling.
there's one over here in the swamp.
So are we now shifting from that one?
That's just my suggestion.
No, I don't know what you guys are gonna do. It doesn't matter to me. I just quit.
I can't believe.
We got bids and then we decided not to
If you
go.
buy a storage building, it's full already
Yeah.
with park equipment. It would be full.
No, it wouldn't be quite full.
Well, what are you gonna put in it? A rate?
Well, I don't know. I got a couple boxes of stuff at my place.
Well, that, by the time you get all
Well,
that
we
stuff
can
in.
purchase a recycling site and then build a storage building on it too.
That's great.
Well, that'll go over pretty well.
If we do get a new recycling site, we need to move our gravel.
Yeah, that ain't-
Yeah,
happening.
dig it up.
Yeah.
Here's your gravel.
Put it on Feldack Park. There you
Something
go.
about when you're a renter or leaser and you put something down
How
like
did
that.
we
you
get to
can't.
recycle?
Huh?
I don't
know. Somebody said building.
What I would suggest is we study this, we don't put it in the budget if we need something lower on the budget. Unless you wanna just put a placeholder on, we can do it.
It's gonna be
I
a
have no
thing.
idea what it would cost.
It's gonna be a thing pretty soon. I mean, you gotta face the fact you're gonna need someplace to, if you're gonna have parks, you're gonna have equipment, you're gonna have people, you gotta take care of them.
I never did ask, but can we build a building behind here?
No, or you mean,
Where's the sewer line?
right dead center.
Yeah, right there. You'd have to, yeah, okay.
Well, you could get a waiver. Like, everybody builds over the sewer.
Yeah, I know that.
Condo did.
Town lines building, the hardware buildings built over it.
Hardware to build over.
So now I'm really getting, the parcel that's, just to this way of the Onekama Marine,
Yeah,
that used to be.
there's a
vans.
sewer line in there.
Oh, okay, but if you can build over, why don't they get a waiver and build on that? That's prime. What's up with that?
I have no
I always
idea.
thought that was an unbuildable lot because of the sewer line.
No, that line runs behind all them houses. Some are,
So when it collapses, then they.
Dig up with the floor.
You make, they,
you in a bad way right there. That'd be the homeowner, that'd be a you problem right
Put
there.
a Fiberglass liner in that sucker and extend the life for. 50
Well, I'm
years
just
before
telling you.
build.
That'd be a you problem in the house.
I didn't think the town of the village gave waivers.
well.
Have they done them
Condo has
recently?
one.
So you know where town, you know where the,
Condos over here got one?
You know, the 2-3 story
Yeah.
condos by me,
Yeah.
they have one goes right through their parking lot. Paved.
the hardware store, you know, where you pull in the back part of the hardware and you go in the the sliding door wall. The sewer line is right there.
That's why. the
Runs through the
wall over
property.
there.
No.
Underneath that?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, it ain't overhead.
So what's your pleasure with this one? Cause I need to know whether we're gonna add it or not.
Which,
For a
For
building,
a potential building. Just to have a placeholder or not, or just amend it if we do it later.
I would amend it. I
I think so too, but it doesn't, either way it works.
don't even have a cost, don't even know. We know what the portable shed is.
You're,
Bob said it's
you were
already
thinking
too small.
finding a lot in the village to build a building on or
no,
no? Oh, okay.
I wouldn't suggest that, way you get run out of town.
No, okay, I thought, okay, you were talking more like up by the.
School.
The only place I can think of is out on 11 Mile or out to the back of Burleson.
Where the cemetery is or?
Burleson way out.
Oh, back to cemetery, yeah. No, you think people are gonna, that stuff, no, whatever. That's okay with me, cause I don't have to go out there and check it. I go over here all the time, you know.
Over where?
No, you're thinking recycle. We're talking about storage buildings.
You're gonna have it all together, aren't you?
Oh, are you? Then you got another mess.
Yeah, no, No, Sherlock.
Ask the village, they went through that once.
Oh, Dan's coming to our meeting on the 19th, by the way, from the school.
Good.
So,
So, moving on to attorney, last year's
How much?
budget was 35, I bumped it up to 40. Last 4 years have been
average is.
48, 23, 25, and we're at 32 this year so far. I just think we seem to have a lot of issues.
There were a lot of rodents.
Is there a dominant reason where our costs are going up or?
Let's see, one of
Land
them,
use.
It's all,
Land use.
all land, oh, okay,
All land use.
all land, okay.
we got two of them with about 10 grand a piece and fences.
Jeez.
Oh, am I supposed to say that, man?
No, it's okay. It's just it's public knowledge. It's not like it's.
So Ed, what was 536 that's gone?
Yeah, hang on.
Because I see there was, oh, that's way back. Forget it.
That's-
Don't even
that's-
worry about it. Forget I have such question.
It's a long time ago.
This is liquor enforcement, didn't really change. I don't know who's gonna do that.
I'll probably do it, but it doesn't go up. There's no increase.
Oh,
No.
it's just 1250.
It's just paid by the state. It's like, yeah, that's it. There's no raise ever.
I think the contract with the state is
1,200. Yeah, it stays the same. It's been that way forever.
Well, we paid 1215 1 year, 1263, 1207, 1157. So I
Well,
don't
it
think it's 1200.
Well, it should be 1,200.
I'm gonna leave it at 1250, but I guess I didn't realize there was a contract. I thought we got money and
We
then
do.
we did, and the state says you're not gonna get this money unless you inspect.
That's
And
correct.
It's up to us to inspect however we
That's
want.
correct.
That's correct.
Okay, so we don't,
The state
There is no
law.
contract.
The state law.
Yeah.
Do
so how do you put your hours?
sample when you're inspecting.
I don't. I
Just go do it and return a report in.
And whenever I turn in, they just throw the 50 in your next paycheck. Or whatever it is,
$100
$100.
a month.
No,
That is. That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's been the same amount for 35, 40 years.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
After an inspection, you
No.
sample.
No, there's no sampling during the liquor inspection.
So 536 was sanitary.
People
sewer.
think that.
I think I just zeroed that out. 'cause we
Yeah,
don't think
I
that-
just-
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
That's a Dave account. You wanna build that up again so we can play
Which
it.
one?
I'd like to spend some money on another engineering study.
I got asked the other day why we don't do anything about the sewer around there. Literally.
Oh, what did you say?
I got asked the other day by two guys, how come we're not doing anything about a sanitary sewer around the lake?
Oh, my gosh.
And I just shook my head and said, I have no comment, and I'm just left.
So I basically, and I didn't finish doing the projections and everything, so like that, but I left this cemetery flat.
We need to put money into that.
It's a redheaded stepchild. I would like to have a work session on it because one, I don't understand everything I don't understand about the cemetery. And we've been talking about it for the 5 years I've been on the board and we haven't really done anything. And Shelley mentioned soft burn, we mentioned resetting headstones, and we mentioned cutting tree limbs, and we mentioned yada, 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 and I just
Yeah, but
need to figure it out.
What do they call the people that manage a cemetery? There's a special. Is
Sextons.
that what it's called? Okay.
He doesn't know what you have to do.
Okay, so you're
Do we
doing,
have one of those that goes up there?
Arden does a lot of the stuff.
Oh, okay.
What's it do?
okay, so I was questioning the numbers when I look at our year to date.
Yeah, I
And
don't
now
know.
I understand it. So you're saying I'm just putting them there until we resolve this.
Yeah, I put them, and I think I missed the projected on that.
So you
one.
probably don't really know what the capital outlay is for, then you just start plopping that in because.
No, I do
that's-
know from last
Oh.
year. Capital outlay was a cemetery mapping program, which we never bought,
Okay.
because we never had a discussion. about
And
it.
then where's the contractual services? Because I see we're at like 5,100, but 21,000 was budgeted.
So we had budgeted 10 for tree removal, 10 for grounds and headstone improvement, and 1,000 for the sexton fee.
Okay,
And I think those were swag. I mean,
Okay.
I think Shelley,
Okay. just trying to understand.
we just don't have a good handle on,
That's pretty close, wasn't it? Go for it.
no, we haven't spent more than $4,000 in any year on that stuff. We just didn't do it. We didn't go up. I mean, we probably trimmed some trees, but like this year we spent 3,500. And that's, a lot of it was John Seaver. So he was up there cleaning up and doing stuff. And then the Spicer group did something, a couple different things. They probably did some mapping or something maybe.
On our cemetery?
Unless it got miscoded. Which
Yes,
is
it did.
possible.
Well, you're not, what?
Yeah, this
year?
is miscoded. So
Yeah, because
this
you're,
is, so I told you there's some things in here that have been miscoded that gotta get cleaned up before the end of the fiscal year, and that's one of them. Those got put to the wrong account, so. Yeah, there's nothing, there's very little in there, but we just haven't done what we thought we were gonna do.
No complaints coming out of the cemetery.
Got that right.
I've never,
oh, Matthew.
never heard.
We're doing-
Few people say, don't poke that in my head again.
So planning commission,
For a 5-year, 10-year master plan or anything, or we shouldn't be.
we just did the master plan, yeah.
Hmm.
I left for stuff fairly flat, although I did reduce the wages because we had budgeted too much from what we've actually been doing. So there's actually a little bit of a,
Yeah.
What do we do attorney wise? Or pretty close there.
attorney,
Yeah.
I bumped it up $5,000 overall. So,
But right now, we're close to what we budgeted for this year.
yeah. Um. So the zoning, the contract with the county,
Which that, as I recall, we wanted to have conversations about before renewal.
We're in what, second year of a 3-year contract.
I don't know when it renews, but, we have their contract plus if we needed any outside consultants and sometimes the county bills us for postage and what have you, so I just bumped that up a little bit thinking, again, with the supported plan stuff and just developers look at, there's always seeming like that's the, where we run our expenses. And then you. Did Parks and Rec, and then invasive species is no longer there because that's in invasive species.
So, yeah.
That should be zero, I think.
Did you have a chance, and I did, to, find out about the special assessment district where we were talking about how much money,
I haven't, yeah, that's on my list. I haven't talked to
Okay.
anybody.
How much money?
is it something I can help explore or?
I mean, I read the statute, but it was a little bit unclear to me, so yeah, we
That's a
can
surprise.
chat, yeah. I just wanna make sure we're
Nice.
good with that,
Yeah.
but, so that's basically the general fund. Now, what I don't know is, cause we haven't talked about it as a group, is there anything that anybody, thinks we should do that we don't have in here, any initiatives or any maintenance or any of that stuff? Well, one of the issues I have, just, and it's kind of a common theme, like, who's overseeing our contractors, who's overseeing the cleaning lady, who's overseeing the parks and recreation maintenance person, who's overseeing Joe when Joe's doing a job for us, because we don't have a township manager, and it's, Bob's done it in the past, Vic's done it. I've done it with contractors for doing technology stuff, but we think we need to figure out a better way to do that and just make sure we're holding people accountable and making sure we're getting, getting.
Like checking their timesheets and, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm here at night and they come in and they vacuum for 15, 20 minutes and they leave. I don't know what they're putting on the time sheets. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I'm just saying I don't know what that looks like.
Just general oversight of that.
Yeah, it's just, anyway, just worth having a conversation, but, so we've got like the plowing people. I guess we call them if we notice that it's a bad job, or I know somebody complained one time over with the recycling, but we've had a ton of snow this year, so overall, I think they've done a good job, but it gets to like, okay, when we're contracting this out, we should probably have a list of which contracts we're looking to do.
And who's
Vic
responsible.
and I have started to compile one kind of, but I know Vic doesn't want to be in charge of procurement necessarily. I mean, that's not what he signed up for the Parks and Rec for. So we've just got some of these issues that are very typical for townships that don't have staff. And we just need to figure out.
Is it something that we could look at potentially a manager person or gives an existing employee some more hours and add that responsibility with some more money
Well,
behind it?
who oversees Parks and Rec now, Mariah? You kind of, no, not you.
Oh, I mean, as far as last year, because, you know, Bob was leaving, so he introduced me to people, and so I established relationships with Anthony's and, but it's up in the air because like Andy does the people that do power washing and, so what I was gonna do is have Ed just give me the list of all the detailed expenditures and look through them to see if there were any in any other departments that really should have belonged to parks. And I noticed within parks, there were two for signs that were in contract services that I'm gonna suggest get moved to supplies. But, and just, you know, that kind of stuff, but I'll help put that together based on what's happened over the last year.
But it's not just where the expenses are landing in our reporting, it's the actual, the whole process, identifying a need, bidding that service out, doing the contract, managing the contract, making sure it's getting paid properly. There's, you know, we have a lot of that just because we don't have, and maybe that's a Jennifer conversation, you know, she may have some ideas with that, but I feel like that's an area that we need to maybe tighten up a little bit.
Maybe you get the,
We're at that weird level where
Yeah.
there's, in the summer, there's lots going on.
Right.
You know.
And then, like I said, that could be something that, like adding hours to somebody's existing job with some additional duties, maybe a little bit more pay, and then they would be able to manage those things if they're willing to do it, or,
Well,
they should.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It's gonna be hard to find somebody, I'm plucked from air 10 hours a week or something. Where do you find that person out of the blue to manage this? That's what I'm saying. You don't do that unless you have somebody already here who's familiar with the setup and the system, who might be able to manage that once the new clerk comes in or so. I'm
yeah.
just,
I mean, you know, Steve Paul, we had an employee that kind of came and went and never really sure what Steve is doing, right? I mean.
Well, I asked Bob what Steve was doing. That's my go-to guy. Bob, what's Steve doing?
Doing the best he can, making it.
That's exactly what that's true.
So I think it's just for.
Yeah.
But is there, before we move off the gentleman, is there anything else, but right now, and we can always amend the budget, but like
Right now,
things that we need that we
as
forgot?
long as you're on EPS cameras, I think you ought to replace that with a 8-footer in back of him. Right up to the ceiling. So that everybody can read it. It's awful hard to read this one.
That one's too small.
That's too small.
I don't know if it can be behind him because it'd be way up here. Would that be comfortable for you to look at? You'd be staring right at Dave.
Or something.
yeah, Dave's gonna have to move.
Hey, I can be out of here in 2 seconds. Watch.
Somebody
See the door?
looks at it. You need to update your tech. This is a good start. I mean, there's,
Could you put a bigger unit in that corner or something that would come down from the ceiling? No.
I just want it. I don't know.
Or we just have.
Oh,
AI
right,
run
on
the
heavy
meetings.
duty.
Could do that.
or you could have.
All right, moving on. If anybody thinks of anything and they're, so the way this works is there's the original requested column and then some of the changes we've talked about, I freeze that because we kind of already had that out there. And then there's another column called recommended. So I'll make some of the changes, or if I catch any other errors, we can talk about those at the next meeting. And then once we approve it, then it goes into the approved column. So then we can track the changes that have occurred if anybody's interested.
So
So,
can I add a couple of things?
sure.
And I'm not asking that we budget for this. It's been mentioned to me at, my meeting, so I don't want to be remiss and not mention it to you, but there are other projects like Glen Park, for example. When we talk about all of our parks and, you know, we talk about getting up the standards that we're proud of, doing some intermediate things every year and then big projects like wetlands and trails. The two projects that have been considered in the past, one was Glen, and it was making it into an actually ADA compliant, and we were not able to get that grant. We missed that grant by a few points, but it's something that's brought up to me all the time because it's from our conservation team, Tyler. It's a very pristine environment with very low invasive species. It's a really great piece of property from conservation perspective, from our bird guy. He thinks it's an absolute pristine property. And from my personal experience, I just think it's dangerous to walk. I have a special needs son and we did it once, we'll never do it again. So there's a lot that could be done there. It is, if it's a bridge, we've talked about the bridge being $100,000, why not just get an easement? That's one thing. But then there's the whole ADA part of it. So it's a big, big project that's not on our radar. And I'm asked constantly to keep it on our radar. So I'm just putting it out there so that we talk about it. And then the second one that has been mentioned to me where a lot of work was done was at Eagle View, where we did some investigations and some engineering of putting a walkway out to the lake with possibly a fishing platform and that sort of thing. So you see none of that in the budget. It's not in any of the, you know, 3 categories that I mentioned, but I am oftentimes reminded that we should be thinking about that. So as you guys are thinking about things, I just want you to keep that in mind. Okay.
And that's something we could maybe do unless we already have some, like a long-term plan that we could revisit, in Parks and Rec, something that we could.
It's probably in there.
Well, I have it there.
Yeah.
And Parks and Rec's is aware of it, but
Yeah,
it's never brought to the board.
right.
And during this discussion, I thought, well,
Yeah.
it costs a lot of money, or maybe there would be more grants, so we
Yeah.
just want everybody aware of it.
Pizza sounds like a little break, or you wanna go on the road, but we don't have much left to go.
You guys,
through.
let's just do what you gotta do here.
So moving on to the road fund. Maybe.
And we don't have the number yet from the road commission on the additional, right?
The additional little streets out of Portage Point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
okay. And so I'm assuming nothing's in there for that,
So we've got,
just for a chip.
revenue, there's very little expense, for this one there. So professional services, I've got, and we didn't spend any this year, but we put a placeholder in for Spicer or some other engineering oversight that we might need, like if they're looking over the road commission's shoulder or helping us with certain areas to, you know, if we need suggestions of the road commission or whatever. We haven't spent any of that. And then, we've got some survey and or GIS services, penciled in there, which is just a carryover from last year. So do have some of that in there. And then, with the repairs and maintenance part, what I have penciled in is, just a placeholder for 15,000 if there needs to be any regraveling. 10,000 kind of random other, and then 359,000. And I didn't have the documents in front of me when I did it, but that was what I recall was gonna be our portion of, because they're doing the patching and that would be our portion of the chip seal, but I need to verify that number.
Okay.
Cause I think that's what it is, but I did it from memory. I didn't have it in front of me and I haven't found it yet, so I need to, should I get that? Maybe I did look it up, but that certainly doesn't include the little extras up on, so we could put the extras in. One thing I noticed though too, I don't think any of our radar signs are they working? There's a couple of them that didn't seem to be, maybe just they didn't
You know,
get the sun.
I think that's part I mean, I drive down, Portage Point all the time. Different days where there's sun, it's working better. And then there's a lot of cloudy day, and then when there's only maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours of light the whole day. The thing doesn't even like, there's not even a light on it.
So I think we need to figure out how to check those and get them serviced, so we could put a little money in there for that, because there's no point in having them.
The snow cover on them.
It could be just that. We'll have to see if they come back once the snow
My,
melts.
my weather gates up north with the snow cover at all.
Yeah, and then later at night, it might charge it up a little bit, so there's some juice, whatever battery. But let's say you go by at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and it's been dark for a while, there, you can see a little, be like a little blue light that just flashes and that's it. Cause it's used up whatever electric storage it has. Summertime, they work great.
Batteries are bad. Anyway, I don't know, we need to
Boost them.
look them or service them, figure out if they're working their way, maybe even get the company to come out and look at them. Since we
Yeah.
spent all that money.
Maybe a bigger battery or a bigger panel or something.
I might add something to that on that then, if that's something maybe in the repairs and maintenance, we can add a line for.
Top Line Electric is the one that does that for us.
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
Put in a windmill.
So that's what I had. Dave, Cindy asked while you're out, did we get the number for the little patches up on all the little short streets out at Portage Point?
He's gonna have that for our next meeting, Brad will.
Okay, so we can add it at the next,
And the chip seal's gonna come in. Oh, yeah.
by the end of March.
Okay.
And the chip seal's gonna come, it came in less.
Oh, good.
A little bit less, cause I think material.
You
was-
have the
You know,
numbers
the
from
rough
me?
and tough.
But roughly 35 grand less. But he didn't know if the pricing for it's probably gonna be a wash.
Yeah, because the price for the,
Asphalt might have gone up and,
Yeah.
but chip seal came down because of the volume,
Good.
so.
So the last one, here's the Lake Improvement Fund, budgeted the revenue,
Much we have in there?
I can tell you that now.
No, how much did you budget?
71,000.
Okay.
Yeah, we bought-
Well, 74 total. It's
Yeah.
the same as last year. I just
Yeah.
broke it up a little bit, what the delinquents. And then, on the contractual services, in conversation with Cindy, because it's a new person, we put in 38,000 for treatment and 37,000 for the manager. And we'll see where it lands, I guess.
Right.
Okay,
So it's basically as, you know,
Carrying over.
yeah, I think it's around $100,000.
we need to figure out how many years and make sure we're okay. Well, yeah, I mean, we've been
Well-
spending less than we
Oh,
thought.
it isn't there,
Right now,
I think we
showing
have-
an ending fund balance of 66,000 as of January 31st.
that's not there.
Yeah.
And wasn't that due, because it varies by year, how much treatment happens? Or whatever.
Yes, it does. It
Whatever's
changes
invaded or-
changes every year.
Yeah.
So the problem is you can't have money in here. You're not supposed to have money left at the end of the cycle of the term of the,
But the problem is it changes year to year, which.
we're guessing, but we have to we'll do a better job. I just don't know when it ends.
We made a comment when we started this, that if it can be less, we were gonna make it less for the taxpayers.
Right.
That means you can't store money.
No, we don't need to store money.
But
We need to figure out going into the last 2 years of this thing where we're at and you adjust what you.
But your costs
And you
aren't,
might not collect anything one year.
right, but your costs aren't the same from year to year, that's the problem.
They're all over the board depending on treatment.
Yeah.
Usually we would budget 80, we'll say 83 or something like that. in our budget.
But it's varied, you know.
Is there a way to put like a percentage in there that you could hold a whole, you're not allowed to do anything, no hold?
At the end of the cycle of it's an SAD, right?
Mhm.
At the end, you're not supposed to have any money left.
Or it's like within 5%.
Or within 5, yeah, but not
Okay.
very much.
So we'll have to dig into that a little bit more, but for now, the budget is basically.
We're fine.
Cindy advised
We're
on,
okay.
so. That's all, folks.
I don't have anything else.
Oh, no, so everybody. look-
Oh, wages? Did you just do wages?
Yeah, and I had mentioned in the introductory memo that we were looking between 3% and 4%, so I've got that all on here. The fire department is good with that, that's what they requested. Yeah, so if there's any changes on that or questions or comments, the one thing, the clerk gets that extra 2,500. I didn't inflate that. I don't know if we should be, if we should just build that in. I mean, it's all built into her salary, but we've kind of shown it as two pieces, so we don't lose track of it, but.
So is essentially the clerk get 25,4 plus 25 then, or is that 25 included in the 25?
No, the 25,400 is her base, that's the same as I make, and then she got 2,500 in the hour.
Okay.
So when I adjusted those, I left the 2,500 more flat and I adjusted the.
I see what you mean, because it's the same election.
But I don't know if people want to just build it in there and have that go away as like this extra thing and it's just part of the clerk's thing, we could do it that way too. I don't know what the thoughts are, but that's how I did it. Just for,
We're not gonna get away from elections, so it could be one line item and just say clerk, and not
we
even,
can do that.
I mean, what's the difference? None, right?
Yeah, I mean, except if it's built into the base.
It gets a raise every year.
Raise every year, right? Which is,
Maybe it should.
so I don't know if anybody has any comments on the public comment from Libby about, she thinks we should pay the non-paid committee members.
And I remember asking a question about that in general, but I just don't remember the answer for why we do pay certain committees and not others.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, is there
I
any?
don't remember why we did it. It's because they asked to form those committees and we said, well, it's a good idea.
Well, the planning commission
Is it
and the,
official?
is an official thing, that
Extension
should
of-
take action, and same way with the zoning board of appeals and the
And I think
board of
that's-
review, where the invasive species in the parks are advisory, so I think that
That was
makes a
why.
distinction potentially, not that they're any less important.
No, I'm not saying
It's
that.
just, that's, I think, probably how.
What did Libby say to pay? I can't remember. What was she suggesting?
I think she said 100 a year or something, which, I mean, to me,
Nothing either.
I don't know that I agree with her number. I mean, to me, either a per meeting thing like you do with everybody else or whatever, but I was just
Yeah.
curious because it doesn't make sense to me why some people got paid and others didn't.
Well, I think it's,
Well, it all started.
Ed's explanation is what it was an official township extension of the, and the other one was advisory only. Couldn't spend money, couldn't do this, couldn't
So
do
the
that.
planning.
Doesn't make them any less important.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
That's the logic,
But
but
that's what I'm saying
is
is,
there any other communities that we could? I mean, see what they pay
well,
people?
the city doesn't pay any of it.
Oh.
Can I make a public comment?
Yeah,
Yes, public.
If it's 100, forget it. If it's maybe 15, 20,000, I'm okay. No, but look, one of the things that we've struggled with is does Parks and Rec have to be governed by the Open Meetings Act? And we have stressed at every meeting, even with the new ruling that came out, we are not a committee that is just rubber stamped. Everything we do, we just recommend, and therefore we fall into that category that doesn't have to be Open Meetings Committee. Cluttering us up with giving us $100, I don't know, to me, it's just messy. Leave us as we are, volunteers that come to you and make recommendations but have absolutely no authority. And to me, that just makes more sense. Now, I'll bring it up at the meeting on Friday and ask the rest of my committee
Okay.
if they have any input, but that's.
And you don't have to say the 100, you can say, do you have any input about getting like some per meeting stipend like everybody else does? I mean. But
Once you
To
take
me, if-
100, you can't say, but we're just volunteers.
Right.
Not just.
Yeah.
That's
But there's a
my,
little
but-
something to
that's
that.
my point. It's-
yeah, I get
no,
it.
and I'm
No,
not
no,
saying what's right or
no, I
what's the right
know.
thing, but to me, it should be a per meeting thing if it's gonna be done,
Yeah.
as
And-
opposed to just,
Yeah, just something.
Yeah.
And potentially we could add a policy in the policies and procedures that say any committee that is making decisions, like you were saying, the planning department or whatever, those Onekama Township is willing to pay. Ones that aren't, that are a recommending committee are
Well,
not.
they're already on the wages
is
salary.
that okay?
Yeah, they're already.
I don't know, I'm just saying it's, I don't know.
I mean, I was surprised that we did pay planning commission in that, because like Ed said, the city, nobody's,
So
Oh,
planning,
okay.
no committees are, but, and I'm not suggesting that you stop doing that, but it
oh, I
was a
didn't
surprise
know
to
that.
me.
Okay.
But then I don't understand why not
Well,
everybody.
leave it as it is.
Dan
Let's hear
makes an
it.
excellent point. Once you take any money, then you're not a volunteer, right?
Well, the
No.
planning commission are
Not in
volunteers
the
too.
No, they're official appointees. They're not volunteers. Planning commission? No, they're
But
legal.
we officially appoint all the
Yeah,
committees.
2 years ago,
Tell
you
me what
made the
the
decision
difference
to
is.
appoint.
We appoint them, but I'm saying, but.
The planning commission
Different.
has specific statutory duties. As does the zoning board of appeals, as does the,
Okay.
These guys
so
don't.
that's-
yeah, as does the board of review.
So I see how you're.
They have to
okay.
follow specific these guys could just advising, they can advise us to, I don't know, buy the bar across the lake and turn that into
But
new
all I'm
town.
saying is when you said they're not volunteers, I'm like, yeah, they are. I mean, people volunteer.
I guess, yes, okay. They are volunteers, because you have to talk them into basically applying for the job, you might as well call them. What else did Libby bring up? Something else besides that?
Webmaster.
Oh, the webmaster.
Webmaster, yeah. Looks like
Webmaster/manager would be. If such a person existed.
Well, I might be a minority opinion here, but I happen to think we have a pretty darn good website and I think it's generally maintained well. And if you look at a lot of municipalities,
Oh, yeah.
including the city of
They're like
Manistee.
2 or 3 years
So I
behind.
don't have a problem with the way it's being maintained. Can it get better? Absolutely. It's been done by committee. We probably need to put a few more guardrails around it, but I think it's an excellent website and it's gonna get moved to a different platform because the open source code that it's on, that platform, they were gonna migrate to the next one. They're not doing that anymore. They're gonna migrate us to a proprietary platform, which is very good as well, but it's gonna look different and it's gonna act different. And it's gonna function a
I
little
look,
different.
you're right, Adam, I just glanced at other Manistee County Township websites.
Mhm.
Ours is it's 100 times better.
And there's
And I think
definitely room
kind of
for
what that
improvement.
does though, is it sort of raises an expectation, because there are things that might be posted on it that aren't.
Well, you know,
So,
to me, I mean, and it'll be interesting to see moving forward. I think part of the issue this year has been, a lot of us have had to chip in to try to
But
do
input,
things.
yeah,
And maybe that will change with the new clerk. I don't know, but I think finding that direction first might be really helpful.
we'll see once Jennifer's in there and see how she wants to handle that, and then that's the.
And I think it's worked great with Vic kind of doing the parks thing. It's, but,
And I think it's-
but that's probably more than just, we've asked you to do a lot as the
Yeah.
chair of the Parks Committee.
So how much should we
We've asked
pay
you to do a lot. Yeah. So
$100
it
a
doesn't
year.
necessarily need to be that way, but I think you've done.
Well worth $100
$10
a
a
year.
month.
There's been some criticism
Oh.
about timing because of the contentiousness of the trails team. And then there was a bunch of FOIAs and I wasn't as quick as, an employee would have been. So there's been a little bit of controversy, but I don't think that much.
No. And I think it's important that there's one person that does it. Because when you start having, multiple, like right now, you are one person that can get in there.
For parks.
Yeah, I'm just saying as an example for parks, because when there's multiple people in there adding and subtracting.
As long as you stay in your lane and.
If you stay in your lane, you're fine.
But you also need to,
Right.
you need to have more than one person trained to be able to do stuff
Right.
and go in and fix things.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm just saying for like a committee, one person is nice because then
Right,
there's not
right.
different information that is contrary to that. So what did the other person put in?
So, I don't know.
See what happens
I'm
once
not
Jennifer's in there.
interested in getting a webmaster at this point personally, but.
Let's see what Jennifer wants to do.
So on this thing, it sounds like we need to figure out the liquor law thing a little bit better, cause I guess I'm not really clear on,
It's $100 a month.
well, that's not how it's gone through the general ledger in the past.
I think that's all the state pays.
That's it.
That number I get from the state varies every year. It's not consistent.
It's not since I've been here.
For real?
Revenue we get,
Yeah.
it's not the same every year.
I wonder why it wouldn't be. Well, who knows? I'm not gonna disagree with you. I knew it used to be $100 a month.
I'll leave it at
That's fine. Okay.
$1,200.
Probably has to do like the percentage of alcohol
Well, it's
sold or
the
something.
same thing with the cities, our liquor fees that are the same we get here vary every year.
Okay, I did
I
not
don't
know
know
that. I always
why.
thought it was $100. Maybe the township just kept the extra money. It wasn't that much.
Anyway, I'd like to see, is there an agreement, cause it's with the state that actually talks about that?
It is a state
It's a
law.
law,
You
all right,
will.
we'll have to review that.
You will do it if you don't, the state police will do it. So they just, it just goes that
They
way.
didn't even say the state police will do it. It says you will do it.
Hmm.
And they said,
There's only 3 in the township. The Porch Point Inn,
Yep.
Shays, and the Lions Club.
you don't have to inspect it.
What about the
Shays is closed.
Porch Point Inn?
Porch Point Inn.
Or not the Blue Slipper, is that another one?
No, it's in the village.
Oh,
They have their own liquor
Right
inspector.
now, I'm inspecting one,
Yeah,
Portage Point, they're closed.
because they're
I
closed.
can't inspect.
Yeah,
Lions is the only one.
and the Lions have a special.
Lions have a club license.
Yeah.
You know.
They can supposedly sell to
X
their,
amount of times. It's kind of like Elks
to their
Club.
club members.
Yeah.
And when they say inspector, it doesn't mean a sample, just so you are well aware of that. Everyone's up front. You don't go in there and say, hey, I want to try that shot of that bourbon and see if it's any
So
good.
what do you, so what?
Clean the bathrooms, help,
Display licenses.
display of licenses, all that kind
Like
of
a little
stuff.
checklist.
Make
to
sure
go
Oh,
through.
there's
yeah.
state stamps on the bottles, open bottles.
How often you do it?
Monthly, every month.
Bathrooms,
real important.
Any kind of sanitation system,
Got it.
the normal things,
So years ago, I was the inspector.
cleanliness, really.
And one time I screwed around when Dode was in business on the thing. And it said bathrooms and I don't know, we were goofing, I put dirty. I was like, well, whatever. It got sent in to they get the copy of the state. They call them up and what the hell, all these months it says extra, and it was always really clean, I was just, oh yeah, he said, God, don't ever do that again. I didn't even think they read the things, so I learned my lesson there. It was a test, I didn't do it on purpose.
You earned your money that year.
Oh, yeah. So that is, you check the license, make sure it's up to date. If it's not up to date, you gotta let the state know. It's all kinds of stuff. Kitchen, I look in the kitchen, bathrooms, everything. So anyways, are we done?
Yeah, there'll be a few little tweaks, but you'll see them on but there is, have to be a public hearing at the next meeting, and it's a short one.
Open
And
it.
then I'll have the resolutions all ready to go.
Okay.
And get them on your clerk, you get the resolution
So-
numbers prior to, you just.
We'll get hold of the clerk right now.
Yeah, what are the resolution numbers?
Did you get the resolution?
Just give me the next one.
You got all this time left. When is it? Do we even?
1 month.
March 3rd.
1 month, April 3rd?
1, 2, 3, 4 days, and then he's done.
Oh, God. Okay.
Aren't you sticking around for training purposes?
So,
You could.
Hold the
I thought there was a
Again.
30-day training.
so we're gonna
overlap
do a
period.
public hearing March 19th.
You're either that or before. You can approve. the
I just
budget.
put it on there because I missed the deadline in the paper by a couple days. I totally forgot about that. Normally the clerk does the advertising, I just forgot. My bad, but we can just schedule it on the 19th, just if there's any other input.
You already put it in the bank?
It is, it was should have ran yesterday.
Okay.
So we just do what we did.
Well, you have the
Yeah.
public hearing before the regular meeting. Did you put 4 o'clock?
Yeah.
You didn't put any, okay, that's fine. Well, I was just waiting for you. Are we done? I'm gonna adjourn the meeting
Well, I
if we're
think
done.
we're done for the day. I was just,
Yeah,
Okay, Libby, you got anything to add? You still there?
Yeah, I'm
That's
still
done.
here.
Okay,
I,
you want,
yeah,
there's public
question,
comment. Go
what,
ahead.
what did you decide on the wage increase? 3%,
Oh.
4%?
It's
I
3% for,
I don't,
well,
It's-
proposed.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what they were making, sometimes we rounded the numbers, so 2.6, 3, 3.8, 4, I think is what we looked at. So, Depending on,
so, but I think using the term, I mean, we haven't decided yet. We haven't approved.
right,
it.
No, we
So
haven't
just
approved it.
kind of-
Tentatively,
Yes,
Libby,
yeah.
tentative.
Okay,
That's what I-
so when will the proposed budget become when will you adopt the budget and when will that document be available for the public to see, including the raises?
so it'll be adopted on March 19th.
I understand that, but when will?
Well, that's what you just asked, Libby. You said,
Well-
when will it be adopted? It'll be adopted
Okay,
March 19th.
But when you're gonna have a public hearing for that adoption on March 19th, when can I see the budget before you have the public hearing and adopt it? I don't know how I have a public hearing, it doesn't matter. Anyway, if you could let me know
Yeah.
that via email
Well,
and
no, I'll
the
let you know
capital
right now.
expenses, that would be great. I'd appreciate
Libby, I'll let you
that.
know right now, because I don't feel like doing the email. We made some changes tonight, which is perfectly acceptable. I will incorporate those into the budget. And as soon as that's done, I will get you a copy and we'll have it
That
here
is-
available for public review.
That would be great, and you will post it on the website also.
Yes, we will.
Okay, and just so you know, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
So right now, we're not gonna have the optional budget work session, or is that still open in case? I mean, because I don't know.
I don't
Some
know
of
if we
this I
need
want to
to.
digest and look at when we make all the changes, and then,
So it's up to whatever the board wants to do.
Okay.
I have that in there as a placeholder,
Okay.
so.
What day is that?
March 10th. On Monday, if we were gonna have an optional.
Well, you just have to, we haven't posted that, right? Cause it's had that optional
We
meeting.
didn't post anything.
So if you have to, we have to do that, then someone, okay, that's all.
And then at our meeting, we'll have the, okay.
It's whatever you guys wanna do.
Yeah, if you wanna talk about more stuff, we can do that or not.
I don't think tonight we need to, but,
No, but if people sleep on it.
Yeah.
we'll have to-
Yeah,
okay.
that's all I was trying to say is just,
Dan, you got anything for public comment? Okay.
I was just thinking if the township needs an elevator inspector,
Yes,
be up for that.
what?
There's a little play on words, huh?
because there are no elevators here.
Yeah, there are.
There are.
Where at?
I withdraw my.
Where are they at?
Couple houses.
Oh,
Couple houses.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
well, private, okay.
Huh?
Condos, where's one?
Portage Point?
Yeah, we adjourned.
Yeah, we adjourned.
Yeah.
I don't think Portage Point has an